everybody, and welcome here to another Kerfuffle panel show. And I am delighted to have here Mr. Tim Hill of Keyzapp. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks, Simon. How are you?
Good, good. I haven't gone full Jerry Maguire, but I'm liking the look. That's very impressive. We have, and I'm going to do this in reverse order here. We're going to say Olga Reynolds here. Hello, Olga. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Perfect. Really, really good. And we're going to go across then. We're going to go across to Anna Logan. How are you, Anna? You okay?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, hope you are too.
Brilliant. And then we got a bit of, actually, we've got blue blood royalty here again. I've got a, I don't know how I should tug my furlock. Estate Agent of the Year, Mr. Josh Heron. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for having me.
For that, even got the bit of branding there. We're very impressive.
Oh, yeah, good.
Guys, we're here to talk about the bane of estate agents' lives, a conversation about keys in the estate agency. But we're going to try and keep it positive because hopefully we've got a solution that helps agents out with this perennial problem as well. I thought what would be really useful before we do anything though, would you just mind, Tim, before we go back to the team here, Tim, would you just give us a kind of really short elevator pitch as to, you know, what Keyzapp are about and what, I mean, obviously we know it's keys, but what's the problem you're obviously hoping to solve and how do you do it?
Sure. So, gosh, I think it was believe it or not, about 7 years ago now, I had a family member who was running a lettings agency, just like yourselves, and had all the usual problems with keys. You know, where are they? Can't find them. And that was actually causing so much kind of grief to him in sort of the day-to-day management, and it's the little things getting in his way. And my colleague Grant and I kind of came up with a solution to fix that. So very quickly, what we do, it's all about making key management easy, essentially. So you have most of the time it's a small key fob like this that you can touch to like a reader, you can plug into a computer or to a mobile phone to quickly identify and sign keys in and out, and very quickly then see what's going on with the keys, and most importantly, chase them back again as well and make sure that they all come back safely to the office too.
That was actually, sometimes I ask people to do the elevator pitch and you wonder how big the building was and how long the elevator ride was being, but that was actually lovely, concise and right on the money. So
was that all right? Oh, good.
That was good. And Tim, I'm guessing one of the things you struggle from actually is that, you know, whenever we do surveys out to agents and ask what are the, you know, the pain points, frustrations, keys never comes in less than I think 7th in terms of people's frustrations or anything else like that. But is there another big problem that you suffer from, that people think that they always have to be, that they are always going to be problematic?
Definitely. I think what's the sort of phrase, like an occupational hazard is something I hear quite a lot of the time. You know, a lot of people just think, you know, there isn't another way to do it, and they sort of accept it really as a challenge, and so it sort of comes off the radar. I also think in some organizations, particularly like the people at the top of the organization, often aren't seeing the day-to-day challenges that those who are actually dealing with keys day-to-day are seeing as well. And that sometimes it's important to kind of get that message through.
What I like there is you're not one of these ivory tower techies like us here at Kerfuffle, not having synergy. You're down there at the coalface helping these people out, aren't you?
Oh, very much so. And when we first set this up, I think I spent hours and hours and hours actually helping people attach key fobs to key rings and really understand how it all works. So yeah, yeah.
Okay, look, we're going to kick off then, if it's all right as well. Olga, would you mind just describing your position at the business and where your business is, and to give a bit of flavour around the kind of the size and what you're about?
Yes, sure. We're basically a student letting agency in Leamington Spa, which is in Warwickshire. So we're the main letting agency. So as you can presume, we have a lot of students who are moving in at the same time. So it gets very stressful. I'm actually a newly appointed office manager. So I'm just a new manager basically. And I've been with Tara & Co / Student Homes, which is sort of 2 names for our business, for 1 year and 5 months. But I've been in the letting industry for about 10 years altogether.
So keys, you know, are obviously have been an issue over that time period.
Yeah.
Plenty of migraines in that time over keys is the theme then.
Yeah, it gets all 500 student properties moving in at the same time. You can imagine how busy it can get, and stressful as well when you can't find them. So yeah.
Yeah, get that. Well, you've got my hometown loyalty here, because I went to school in Warwick, so I'm a big fan of Leamington Spa anyway. But enough about that. Okay, Anna, could you just describe and just give us a bit of background on your business as well?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in lettings for longer than I care to remember, since 1999, actually, so a long time. Over that period of time, I've worked in a handful of different organisations: corporate, independent, a private family-owned company, and most recently, earlier this year, I set up with two partners, the three of us set up a business, Graham Toynbee, and all of us have been in lettings and sales for a long time, so we wanted to do it kind of starting it correctly from the beginning. So that's where I am now. So a relatively small business, but I've had experience of big businesses as well. So we're kind of bringing all that knowledge together, and that's what we're doing now.
Congratulations on the new business. That's got to always be applauded. And 1999, do you remember that was when we used to have prime ministers that lasted more than a couple of weeks?
I know, imagine that.
Okay, and thank you. We'll come back to you in a second. I do want to talk about that, actually, the importance of getting it right from the beginning of a new business as well. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. Josh, feels like just a few weeks ago, which it was, of course, where you were yet again marching up to that stage and stating, we're the best, except you're far too modest to have done that. That's what would have happened if I was winning it. I feel a bit daft, but just give us a bit of background.
Yeah, so obviously we're JD Gallagher Estate Agents. We're in Lancaster, up in the northwest. I'm the lettings director. I've been doing lettings 6 years on Monday, actually, it'll be. But John, who runs the business, has had JDG for about 33 years now. So he's right from the start. Obviously, keys have been something that's been integral to the business, and obviously the headaches that have come with that previously have been ongoing for a long time. So yeah, it's been we've changed things around now. So.
Well, while we've got you in the hot seat there, Josh, let's just get you running with the first one, if that's okay. Why is it so important to get key management right?
Well, my sort of aim since taking over lettings is all about efficiency. And to be honest with you, you've got your obvious things. There's a pain with sort of lost keys. Your staff take time to find them, but obviously all the other staff think they can find them better, so they all get involved. So your efficiency in the office drops. No one can find them because they all look in the same places, and it's just a nightmare. And we probably hold between 400 and 500 keys at any one time, so we have a lot of keys on board. But for me, I suppose that the straw that broke the camel's back, that made me sort of look to something like Keyzapp, was his reputation. We had a first-time buyer. They're excited, come and get the keys for their first house. They walked to their new house, which is, I don't know, about 20-minute walk away, got there and they had the wrong key. Last impression of us was awful. They obviously they were so excited, and then that was just sort of cut off, because then I had to run down in the rain with the right key and look an absolute plonker, or because something hadn't been done properly and the keys were badly organised. So for me, reputation is massive when it comes to keys, because obviously on the letting side, landlords expect you to be looking after their investment. On the sales side, you've got first-time buyers and other people. It's vital to make sure you can sort of be trusted by your clients.
All that hard work you've done over the course of it, holding it all together, and then just that one thing right at the end can let the side down, can't it?
That's what they remember as well. That's the last impression they've got of you, so it's not good.
These review sites, they can be very unforgiving, can't they? I believe
these can, yes.
So Anna, what about yourself? That importance about getting it right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Josh pretty much covered all of it there. I think the main thing is that the time management of, looking for keys is just a pain. Like you say, everyone kind of gets involved, and or it might be here, it might be there. So to have it done correctly from the start is just, for us, is amazing. Because every single key, as soon as it comes in the door, it's tagged up. We know where it is. We know what hook it's on, and it's that, and it is the reputation thing as well. Because it is, like Josh said, if it's that's the thing that goes wrong, and that's so easily avoided. So just to have a good reputation with your vendors, your landlords, your tenants, so you know where that key is at any one time, is really priceless.
And that phrase "game changers" often is massively overused. Actually, to be fair, I massively overuse it. But that feels like it's the right time to use it, isn't it? In this step change from how it used to be done and how you can do it now.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've done, obviously, over the time I've been in lettings, we've tried many different things. I remember when I first started, it was literally, paper. You just signed out the key and then somebody signed it in again. So it's basically kind of a step up from that. You're just doing it digitally now. And it makes it easier to chase the keys. You know who's got it, you know how long they've had it, you can easily chase them to get it back to you. And also it's accountability for staff members as well, because the number of times you just grab a key just to go and let someone in, or to check a smoke alarm or whatever it might be, you don't sign it out, it sits in your bag for a week, you forget about it. So it's that as well, we've kind of made it a habit right from the start. Even if we're just popping around the corner to let someone in, you sign the key out, so you know that that's where it's gone.
So that accountability, that safety,
absolutely,
big tick in the box there. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
I think that was something that surprised me actually when I started doing this. How many people they'd be quite meticulous about signing keys out to their contractors and things like that, but staff are often getting missed. And it's often that challenge, isn't it, when like a member of staff like maybe goes out with 5 sets of keys or something like that, and they bring 4 of them back and they don't realize that they left one in the glove box of the car or something like that. And being able to pick up and catch those sorts of things can make quite a big difference. So yeah, it was one of the questions I was kind of interested in what your views were on, actually, is staff keys, and when staff take keys, did you not do it before, do you do it now? And so yeah, thanks for answering that, Anna.
Good to hear, isn't it? And Olga, does that chime with you on all those other points there about the importance of getting that key management right?
Yeah, I completely agree with Josh and Anna. Reputation is very important for our business as well, and you want to come across as a professional letting agency. It's not nice to hear when landlord comes in and says, "Oh, Bridget provided 3 sets of keys to you," and we lost all 3 sets of keys. So it's I don't know how much more, or how many more reasons can we give to the same landlord. It just doesn't look good at all. Yeah. So yeah, it's a professionalism, and also I feel there'll be less finger pointing at staff members, because if nobody knows where they are, or I think it's him or her last had them. So it's not a good atmosphere when in an office when it happens, really.
It stops that blame game, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And would I be using a lazy stereotype? Would I be, if I was to suggest that managing it with students as well is adding another level of complexity in? Are they particularly disorganized as I was as a student, or is that just lazy? Is that me being a lazy journalist?
Yeah, students are definitely sort of not to that level like everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to have a go at your main client base here. I just remember what I was like back then, and to have a bit of tech that could have saved me from my disorganization, I would have been really happy about anyway.
Yeah, it's helpful, and obviously it shows in a system who had if we're renting a property by rooms, obviously there's a different ways how it can be set up, /1, /2, /3, so we can say, look, we gave the keys, you lost them, or he can't blame us, he hasn't been given them in the first place because the system shows that you've been given. So yeah.
Okay, no, it's really useful to know. And Anna, when it goes wrong, like Olga was just talking about there, how can it go wrong, and what can be the results from that?
How can it go wrong? Where do we start? So if you haven't got,
remember we've only got another half hour on here, so we can't get it.
Got it. Okay, I'll keep it short. So yeah. Lost keys, just whether a contractor's got them, whether a staff member's lost them, whether a tenant hasn't bought them, or a tenant says they bought them back, we haven't got them, or I posted them through the letterbox, and you've then got to go to the landlord or to the vendor and tell them you haven't got these keys, tell them why you haven't got these keys, or explain, give them a reason as to why you haven't got these keys. You've then got to spend time getting another set, paying for another set, so it's costly. You may have to pay for other things associated with it. Perhaps a contractor hasn't been able to get in, so you get a call out charge. So many things can go wrong if you're not on top of it.
Great, thank you. And Josh, yourself, when it's not that obviously things can ever go wrong with the estate agent of the year, but what have you seen? When does it get bad?
Well, like Anna said, you've always got the cost implication in terms of physical, how much it costs. You've got to replace locks, you've got to replace keys. But then again, go back to what I said before, the reputation. I sort of get inventory companies. We do outsource certain aspects, but they get to a property after we've set up a day's worth of inspections and they've got the wrong keys. So not only are they annoyed with us and not happy with us, we've then got to reschedule everything. And again, it's that time aspect, and just that accountability to make sure that the staff members that are giving the keys out are doing it properly, so that it's not only your vendors, your landlords that are getting annoyed with you, but it's your other contractors that you have, that you work with. They also start to see you as, oh, that they're not really that well organized, that they're wasting my time having to do this. And then, like Anna said, you could end up with call out charges from contractors and things like that. So it's overall just inefficient. If it goes wrong, it changes your whole efficiency of the sort of what you're trying to run. So it's essential that it's done right from the start.
Yeah. And what did you say? Was this your sixth year? Was it your
Yeah, I'm just hitting my sixth year, yeah.
So what other methods have you seen for over the career? Any good examples, bad examples of tracking keys? Or have you always...
Well, it all depends. There's obviously the human factor. You've always got the human factor and human error. If you've got super organized staff who want everything absolutely perfect, then your sort of paper versions and CRM versions can be effective, but most of the time you end up with different kinds of people in different roles. So when I first started here, we had two offices which were amalgamated into one now. They both were running slightly different systems on paper, on little flick cards. They were built into our CRM system per property. So you were having all these different areas that if one could get updated, but the other one might not be, or the drawers wouldn't get turned around when the keys were empty, or keys would say they've been handed out and they haven't. So you end up with lots of different records that don't sort of work together, and that then causes confusion, which you might have the keys, you haven't lost the keys, but no one quite knows which keys they belong to, and it becomes a nightmare. So I've sort of seen the paper version, the card version, the online version, but they've never really spoken to each other properly.
We'll come back later which one you prefer, but I think I'm already starting to understand. And from your point of view, Tim, I mean, what is it? Because back in my day when I used to have a proper job, and I was doing CRM software, none of the CRM software packages really seemed to specialize. They did key management, but just such a shallow, low level.
Exactly.
I mean, is that just because because it's like so many things, if you don't specialize in an area, then you're not going to see the depth of functionality that you guys have invested in it?
I think so. I think it's it's a hard job, isn't it, for CRMs, because they've got to kind of cover everything and everything at a certain level. Certainly when we started 7 years ago, there was very little in most CRMs. So it might be just a single field or something where you would type the key number, something like that. And of course, I mean, I'm sure most of you would agree, for several of your properties, you can have several sets of keys, and they might all be slightly different sets that you use for different purposes and things like that. And they've all got, I mean, I think it's actually improved quite a bit in a lot of the CRMs, even sort of whilst we've been doing it. But I think it was certainly the case for us that when we came in, we thought it was going to be quite a simple problem to solve. But you realize that as you go in, everybody needs to work very, very slightly differently. And one of the things where we've had to invest is essentially making sure we can come up with something. I think Josh was talking there about the multiple systems that people might have. So 2 offices, completely different ways of tracking keys. How can you put something together that still feels familiar enough with people so they can adopt it quickly and easily, yet still is very fast and sort of simple to use? And I think that's a huge challenge for CRMs. So if you need anything beyond the basics, it's a good idea to look at something to supplement it with.
Yeah, but then you're quite biased on that, aren't you?
I am slightly, yeah.
Anna, you mentioned you've been worked as small independents, but you worked at corporates. How has that, the different ways of working, changed across those different styles of company?
Well, I think you're on mute.
Is it muted or is it?
Sorry. Yeah, when I started my career, the company that I was with was an independent, and as it got kind of larger and larger and larger, and was then bought by a corporate company.
Okay.
I then, a few months into that, I then left and went to like a private family-owned company with quite a large portfolio, 50% of which were students. So I was kind of agreeing with some of the things that Olga was saying about keys and students. And then I went to a large independent which had about 900 rental properties, and that's when I first came across Keyzapp. So I implemented it at that company. So I've seen it kind of seen an existing system migrate into Keyzapp, and obviously now started using Keyzapp from the very start. So I've kind of seen it from two different angles, if you like.
Okay, great stuff. Olga, what about yourself in terms of have you always kind of used a solution like this, or have you used other methods as well?
I mean, on my last job, for example, there was it was more like an old school paper type of tracking the keys. Obviously, we used auto system, for example. There was sort of a basic key management system there, but then on top of that, we used the paper. Like a sign-out book, and also we would put tags, like handmade tags where the keys are to say who got the keys. So it was quite strict. But when I joined Tara & Co, they had no system at all, so it was scary. So I just asked, how do you track your keys? Like, they said, oh, we just all looking for them same time, and it could be half an hour, depending if customer is waiting in the office. They just wait. So which is scary. But yeah,
quite a painful memory for you.
Yeah. So we've recently, well, a few months ago, I think we've joined with Keyzapp, and we've definitely seen some improvements. With tracking the keys and logging them properly, so we know where they are. And yeah, it's been a very positive experience. Yeah.
Excellent. And what are there any kind of specific key management challenges your individual businesses have, and how has Keyzapp helped them particularly? What is you mentioned there you've been using it a few months now. How has Keyzapp happened from kind of the first few weeks and going into the next few months?
Well, it's been like I said previously, in Tara & Co, there was no sort of any even paper. So if contractor comes in and get the keys, they will just give them the keys. Yeah. But now, scary, yeah. But now, obviously, the system is there. So Keyzapp, I feel it's a sort of a type of communication as well, because obviously from the system you can see who've got the keys. It's like, oh, actually I know where they are, rather than I have no idea where they are. It sounds a bit better. You can see, and you can see the activity, and it helps to track them, and get reminders. Reminders is very good communication skill. Just contractors would always comment on those messages when they come in and you bring the keys back. So yeah.
I remember with you guys in particular, Olga, like you say, you've actually not been using Keyzapp all that long, but we had that rush, didn't we, to try and get it in before the big student changeover
we did.
days. And again, I don't know, I'm hoping you did. I know we pushed in. Did you see sort of some advantages there in terms of signing the keys out quickly when you've got lots of people in a very short space of time that you've got to give keys to?
Because you're right, that's so intense, that period, isn't it, where just there's everything going on and the buzz and people rushing around the office. It can only have helped there, can't it?
Yeah, well, we had, for example, 1st of September, as you know, the standard moving in day, and we had to get those keys ready, and everybody was running around. But like, if you have like a 10-bed house, and you have intimate like 10 sets of keys, you can just scan them really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So it's really much quicker process. Yeah, it's helped a lot. Yeah, and especially obviously, shame that we didn't have that system before, because obviously 31st of July, this is when tenants moving out, and when you come into the office on the 1st of August, you've got piles and piles of keys under the door, if they drop them through the letterbox. So, bags are ripped and everything, and there are no any sort of tags there. So you have no idea. You pick up this pile and then you have no idea what the keys for, unless somebody comes, forward and says, oh, did you receive my keys? I said, probably, yeah, they're somewhere there. So,
you'll have it for next year.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking forward to next year, July.
And yourself, Anna, I can see you smiling along to some of those points there. Does that, how has Keyzapp helped in your particular the challenges again? In this is a new business, as you were saying for yourself, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's how it just kind of gives us an extra little bit of confidence, because our whole ethos when we started the business was it's property properly is kind of how we market ourselves. Yeah. And we just want to make sure that everything is done right from the start. You know, it's not rocket science, but there's so many things that can go wrong, and all of those little things can affect your reputation, affect your efficiency, and just affect the way that people interact with you. So it was so important for us to get it right from the start. And as I say, it just gives us the confidence that we know that we've got that key. If we haven't got it, we know who has got it, and we know we can get it back, you know, when we need it. For instance, if you've only got one set of keys and you need to get the EPC done, you need to get the EICR done, you can organise it. So, you know, one contractor's got it, you know, they're bringing it back, and the other one's got it. So it just helps with our overall efficiency.
And also with that self-confidence point, isn't there? You never, without systems like this, you're always that little bit self-doubt. Well, did we drop the ball on this? Whereas you can be pretty much as certain as possible, actually, if you can see all the different audit trail points, can't you, of where it has gone. If someone's trying it on, whether you still challenge them back is another question or not. But at least you yourself can feel much more confident that actually you've done the right thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Josh, what about yourself? What particular challenges do you have up there that Keyzapp's been able to help you out with?
Well, I think obviously we've done it for a long time in the old way, and now I can't think how long we've been using Keyzapp, but probably more than 6 months now. And I've seen a massive change in things similar to what Olga and Anna have said. You know, contractors in particular, they hold on to the keys for ages, but now sometimes they rush so they don't get that text message. They're like, oh, I've got them back. I didn't get a text, sign them back in. Like, okay, great, we'll do that. So, because you find like inventory company will come pick them up, but oh no, they're still signed out to someone else from 2 weeks ago. That sort of reminder system has been, was a massive plus point for us, because it speeds up how quickly we're getting our keys back, and we can see at a glance how many are like coming up for being overdue, and the reminder system. But there's other things. Obviously, we do have to do like bulk inspections. We do bulk gas safeties, and previously that was sort of getting scribbled down on a piece of paper, and it wasn't very accurate. Whereas now I can very quickly get an inspection day with 10 inspections on, tap 10 keys on, sign them out to the same person, say it's for inspections, and then they all come back and I can sign them back in. So we were kind of, our CRM system, you'd have to search for the property, type in the person that was doing it, sign them out, when are they due back. You'd have to do that 10 times. So it kind of, people stopped doing it. It wasn't getting done properly. Now, every single time we know when they've had them, when they're back. It's just massively more efficient, and it's so good to be able to see the before and after from how it used to be, and the frustrations I used to have with like keys compared to now. It's super smooth now. You know, it's really
super
good.
smooth. I bet that's what Tim wants to hear, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and I think, I mean, the thing that we learned quite quickly is, again, I didn't actually have an industry background when I started doing this, so maybe I came in kind of really naively.
Don't worry, Tim, some of the best don't have an industry background.
Well, I'd like to say that I do now, after seeing all these trials and tribulations for 7 years. But no, I think we thought, you know, it should be quite a simple process to solve. And I think one of the things that we learned very, very quickly was that if you can't make it extremely easy for people to do it, it's not going to happen. And I think you all kind of said, it's about having that confidence, isn't it, in the system that you've got, so that you actually know that you can trust where the keys are. And like you said there, Josh, you know, it's when you've got too many clicks in the way and things like that, it's when people don't do it. And then you might have some records, but if you can't trust those records,
exactly.
You know, it's almost like there's no point having them, isn't it? And so that I think is from us, I think one of the things that we really want to focus on is about making it easy for you. And I think, you know, the three of you, probably that was a slightly different thing we had to do in each case to make it easy as well. So yeah, no, it's so important, that point.
Well, I also like the idea that whether it's intentional or not, that you've almost gamified it with the contractors, trying to rush it back before the text message. I love a little idea here, kind of like, well done, you've beaten it by your previous best by 10 minutes or something like that. You can have that one for free, but it sounds like you're doing it already anyway.
There's a bit of a flip side to it as well, isn't there? I think Josh, I think you do this. I'm not sure about the others, where, you know, you actually can escalate through your own organization too. So if a key hasn't come back and you do get those contractors, don't you, that will ignore your messages, for example. You can then start saying, okay, well, which member of staff gave it out, and chase the staff member to get the key back, and things like that, and escalate up and make sure the visibility is there. So again, you can really see when it's not happening. That's one of the things we put in more recently, and I think we submitted for your award, Simon, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, there you go. There, see, certainly shout from the hilltops about that. No, I think it's fantastic there. I mean, one thing I want to ask the question about actually is, because you've mentioned it, in your newer businesses, you've all been using it relatively short period of time, and of course, there's a lot of suppliers out there. I mean, my old mob, obviously, in the CRM space. It would take a very long period of time, often for with some businesses at least, for it to settle down and you start to see the benefits. But from what I'm hearing from you guys, actually, whilst there is a bit of a change culture thing, well, we didn't do it like that, the benefits do come quite quickly. Would that be fair to say, Olga? It doesn't take too long for you to get on board with it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's simple to use. It says it does what it says, and it's. I think literally you could learn it within maybe a couple hours. It's self-explanatory. It's it just says add the person, add the keys, which house to, and that's it. Everything else, it can be easily picked up. You don't really need to be super smart to use it.
A couple of hours for you, that's about 3 days for me. But either way, that's still pretty impressive there. And what, is there any useful advice you could give to other people who are going to go down it? Is there anything you'd have done different going live with it?
I think probably the experience that I had when I was at the larger agency, when we kind of moved from our old system onto Keyzapp, I think I probably would have got all of the staff there a bit more involved in the initial training, because there was a little bit of resistance, possibly. People are always resistant to change. So I think I probably would have got them on board a little bit sooner than I did, it's sort of, so they kind of understood the system before we were implementing it.
It's
and we
really
had,
important, Anna, isn't it, that they understand? I always think this is like principals of the business, managers, owners. They might do something that's right for the business itself per se, but actually, if the staff don't understand what the benefits are going to be, that willingness to throw themselves into the change can sometimes be a little bit more, a little bit slower.
Yeah, and I found that some of the team were really on board with it and were really keen to kind of get to know it, get to understand how to use it, and they used the reports from the system so they could see which keys were out. And we also used it then as an opportunity, if we had a property and we didn't hold any keys for it for whatever reason, they'd been lost or we'd never had any or whatever it might be, we used that as an opportunity to get in touch with the tenants or the landlords to get ourselves a set of keys. So it kind of helped us to audit everything and almost kind of start afresh from that point. And obviously where I am now, it's so much simpler to implement it right from the start, because we're not having to change anything. We're just, this is how we're doing it. And the whole team, are on board with it and understand it really well. And it's, like Olga said, it's very straightforward to use.
Well, that's great, because I think Tim did say to me on a previous one, the best time to do it is when you're starting off in an agency. The second best time is now, isn't it, basically? So that's nice to have there that from the beginning, and it can grow and scale as you do as a business.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Josh, what about yourself in terms of did you say 6 months you've been kind of onboarding?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest fear, if I'm going to be honest, was the fact that we have had, obviously going from John, 33 years doing this, we've got the members of staff who've been here 16 years. I've been here at the time probably five to six, and then we've got staff that have been here months. So my biggest fear, as someone or a company that's done it so differently for so long, was that people weren't going to take to it very easily.
And then
it took me a long time
and then it was on your head, Josh.
Exactly. I'm the one like, right, let's get this up, guys. So obviously it took a while to transfer it over because I wanted to make sure it was done properly. So I took that on and did that myself. But then we were only a sort of small team of, it was 10 at the time, and I individually, we've set ours up in kiosk mode. So we have one sort of touchscreen laptop that we do all the signing in and out on. And I took each member of staff and did it with them individually. and just showed them the basics of what we needed to do for our day-to-day things. And that, I think that really helped them understand. They weren't just watching it as a group and not being scared to ask questions like you do in a group when you're training and things. I went up with them, and to be honest with you, we all got our lanyards, so everyone loved this. We've never had them before, and everyone felt really like professional because we've got a lanyard, we've got our little tags on, we've got a little ID thing on, and everyone got them, and they all felt dead posh because they've got this and they have to do this every time. And I had a meeting with him not so long ago, and I went around the team. I was like, guys, I've got a meeting with him to give him feedback. Is there anything I need to update him? What can we do? And for the first time ever, when I'm trying to make things efficient and put new things in place, no one had anything bad to say. Everyone loved it. Everyone had got to grips with it really quickly. And I think that one-on-one training we did really helped them understand, because they could press that button, or they could tap that and they could do this. And I think that really helped get everyone on board quickly, from the people that have been doing it the old way forever to the newer people, because obviously all sort of three of us here have got completely different sort of starting points, I guess, to using Keyzapp, and that, I think that was vital in our particular example to sort of make sure it hit the ground running, as it were, and it's part of daily life now. They couldn't imagine it doing the other way anymore. So
Really.
How long, Josh, did it take when you were doing that individual training session with people? How long did you have to spend with them to get them up to speed?
30 minutes. It wasn't long at all. It was literally like, right, let's try signing them out, let's try adding a key to the system, let's sign them out to a tenant, let's give them to someone who just purchased a property. I did a silly little printout thing that I did, showing them the steps for each of those kind of interactions. And because we did it one-on-one, I think it was very intense, high quality training. So it didn't take very long at all. Obviously, I had the few questions in the first couple of weeks. Oh, I've just forgotten, how to archive a key. I've just forgotten how to transfer that from sales to lettings. But apart from that, I don't sit far from the kiosk. People ask me questions if they need to, but they've all picked up the basics very, very quickly, which was a relief for me.
Which is it's really important, that though, isn't it, Tim? To be honest, is that you must feel quite a bit of pride there that you've kind of largely cracked it. If people with a bit of assistance and training can get up to using that so quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as I said before, I mean, that's really the aim. I think, the goal for us is to make it almost feel intuitive, so that it's almost obvious from what you've just done to what you need to do next. And it should all feel natural. If we've done our job right, that's how it should work. And as Olga said, sometimes that does actually mean a little bit of thinking up front to say, well, how are you doing it today? How do you number the keys? I know in the case of Tara and Co, I think you guys have, because you have so many keys, you tend to keep them in sort of big folders, don't you? Is that
Yeah, we keep them in pouches,
yeah, in pouches and things like that, which might be quite different to Anna. I think you said you hang them on just a sort of simple keyboard and hook and things like that. And there's always like and there's always like little subtleties like that as to just the way different people work that just make it then feel intuitive. And that I hope is what makes it work so well.
Excellent. And just to continue with you there, Tim, is like everyone tends to look at key management as a cost, isn't it? Can you actually make money with keys?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? So there's a couple of ways that you can look at this, and there's a few things I would like some volunteer clients to try with me as well when we do this. There's some obvious things. I mean, I think you've all said actually there's the sort of reputation, the professionalism side of things, which just go towards helping you sort of position yourself against the competition when people can see how well you do things. I know certainly having the branding on your fobs and things like that, actually we haven't really talked about that much, but so Olga has two brands, for example. She has a student brand and the Tara & Co brand. So some of it is the sort of the typical marketing you get, and I think adding to that, you've got maybe the student side of things. Students are always taking their keys out of their pockets, and you're looking to get students for the next year. So the fact that your branding is there all the time, and you can give those students a real reason to keep hold of those keys, because if they lose them, the ability to scan the key on a phone or something like that actually means that key can be recovered, and it can save them money and a lot of effort as well. So there's that whole branding sort of side of things. I think Anna actually alluded to something else which doesn't require Keyzapp at all, but maybe a lot of people don't think about, is doing that kind of regular key audit process. sometimes means you come across keys that you've accidentally retained or that you don't have anymore. And I've seen many of our clients, once they've started using Keyzapp, they're going through that initial tagging process. What they'll often do is they'll use it as an opportunity to call up an old landlord or somebody who converted from a managed to a let only or something like that, give them a call, find out how they're doing, and actually then get more business because it gives them a conversation starter. It's something to do there. And then there are some other things, again, which I'm keen to pursue. So if any of you guys are up for it, let me know. One of the things you can do, let's say you sell a property or something like that, to actually be able to offer a key holding service. Now, a lot of agents traditionally are going to run a mile from that idea because you know, keys are a nightmare. But once you've kind of got it under control, there's an opportunity there. Again, it's all about, I think, maintaining contact with your clients. So maybe it's a sale, maybe it's a let only, something like that, saying, would you like us to hold a key for you? You know, you could charge something nominally for it or not, be up to you. But it's a sort of interesting idea to sort of use it. And you obviously wouldn't want to do that unless you have full control and full confidence that your key system's always going to work. Otherwise, it's just a liability for you. But it's another avenue people might pursue. Sorry, I'm going off on one here, but there's one other thing which I think is also interesting, which is around keeping people accountable again as well. And that is, let's say your contractors don't bring keys back and things like that. I've known people do this with their staff, not with contractors, but this ability to actually say, well, you know what, you don't get paid until the key comes back, or there is almost like a library fine type system where, you know, if you retain that key too long, you're actually blocking somebody else from getting the key. Again, these are all ideas. Again, I haven't myself put that one into practice yet, but I do think sometimes there is some scope there for actually, you know, it's not really making money, but it's perhaps offsetting some of the costs that you get when key management, and the accountability maybe does help you do that.
You'll never have to apologise on this show for trying to make money, so don't worry about that. What does anyone think about some of those ideas? Is that something you might give I love the idea of not having to have an excuse to try and artificially ring someone up and do that as a key holding one. That's quite cute. Anyone else?
You can say no as well. If you think they're daft, go for it.
I think the key holding service idea is great. You know, we're based in a city centre, not a massive city, but Lancaster's, you know, it's got all sorts of different kinds of people from students, you got your only landlords. I think we're moving more towards people having that Airbnb style places. So I've actually written down key holding service on this piece of paper. I think that's a great idea, because at the end of the day, we're open 9 to 5. 6 days a week. It's a great sort of
a better way, Josh, of being, you know, part of the community, can it? Where you can offer that as a service.
Exactly, and like you say, you've still got your brand on that keyring as well, so you've still planting that sort of seed in people's minds to grow for the future, which is always going to be a benefit.
Spot on, absolutely great. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys if that's okay, just to give a kind of a closing comment, not to overplay it here in terms of there. And I think I suppose it would take a lot. I'm guessing you all just have to nod on this one. I'm not expecting you to say no. It would take a lot to convince you to go back to the old system, wouldn't it? Now, yeah, nobody here is hankering for the old days, are they? Basically not. Would you just give us let's just start with you again, Josh, if that's okay. Just let us know, you know, what you feel Keyzapp's giving to you, just as a kind of just as an overview.
Now, I think my main aim in my role is to make sure things are efficient and that we look good for our brand. As you know, we want to be the best, essentially. That's what we try to do. And I think it's given us a lot more freedom, saved a lot of time, and given us that efficiency that I sort of strive for in the office. It gives my staff more time to sort of actually focus on the customer than running around for keys. So it's massively changed the way we've done things after doing it badly for so long.
I think that efficiency point, you've said that so many times now, that's really driven home to me that, you know, really that's, you know, such a crux, core part of the solution. And of course, not that you'd say it to any local competitors, but I guess you'd have no hesitation recommending Keyzapp as a solution to other agents looking to solve what we highlighted at the beginning, the bane of their lives.
Absolutely not. No, I'd highly recommend it. It's made a big difference for us.
Excellent, good stuff. Anna, from your point of view?
Yeah, pretty much what Josh says. It's just having the confidence and the efficiency to know that you're doing it properly. And it was almost a recommendation from my experience with Keyzapp in the larger company. When we started to know, right, how are we going to do this? And I thought, Keyzapp, because I knew that it would work for us. And so far it is working for us.
Well, those are always the very best sort of recommendations you can possibly get, aren't they? Where people come from, and that's the. And Olga, yourself?
Yeah, same. Yeah, it gave us more confidence. Yeah, efficiency, professionalism, and it's always it's always good to actually give the landlord the land side if there's a key without actually going to the pouch and pray that they're there. So it just gives that reassurance and a bit calmness, that you're confident that they're in the pouch where they're supposed to be and they're tagged as they're supposed to. So yeah, that's kind of a relief for us. Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. I don't know why I always get nervous when I ask that question. No,
I was a little scared as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would you have done there if it had gone the other way? But no, that's great to hear, and obviously from 3 such great agents, clearly know the business back to front. Tim, you must be really pleased to hear that kind of. But actually, I should just say before we let you have the closing comment, anyone go to have a look at Keyzapp on the wonderful pink site, kerfuffle.com, because it's not like these aren't just cherry picked, are they? I think you've got 31 5-star reviews on there, and to get that many in a B2B sense is really, 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 really impressive. So, Tim, again, do you want to just? I'm sure you want to say thank you to the guys and everything else, but anything you've got to conclude?
Well, no, absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. I think you're all coming from very slightly different places, and that's really what I wanted to hear today. And it's always so gratifying to hear nice things said. So no, I really appreciate it. I think to sort of sum up, one of the things that I come across quite often is that there's often a myth, I think, with some people that if you're not losing keys, then maybe that's as good as you can get to. And I think you've all said sort of actually several times throughout this conversation that hardly or ever is it about actually the key disappearing and never finding again and having to replace locks. Of course, that does happen. But the big myth is that if you're not losing keys, that your key system is working. And actually, it's all those other things that actually the real challenge. It's the time, it's the headaches, it's the reputation and things like that. So yeah, no, absolutely. We're always up for a chat. As I say, 7 years experience looking at lots of different people's key systems, even if it's just a problem you want answered or anything like that. We're always here and keen to learn and hopefully share some of our knowledge as well.
Well, you clearly are, Tim, because again, you got top 40 innovations of the year. So again, we have to give you a big shout out on that. So I want to say thank you to all of you guys for giving up your time today. It's much appreciated. Anna, Olga, and Josh, of course. Josh, we're probably on a show tomorrow. I don't know but that's the next thing. Tim, again, keep up the good work. It's really good to see people specialising in areas like this and making what is, can be a difficult niche, much more bearable. Dare I say it, even a little bit enjoyable.
Yep, we'll keep at it.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks very much.